If you're trying to improve your climbing, one of the most important forms of pushing yourself is project climbing. In this video, I'm going to go through 11 tips to send your project. The footage will actually be me working on my first 514 project in the gym. To give you a reference, I've been consistently climbing 513s in the gym for a few years and have done a few 513s outside as well. Today, Red Dragon is going down. 513C, hardest route I've ever climbed. Doing a 514 has been something that I've always wanted to do, but it's always felt a little bit outside of my reach. In fact, it's taken me 8 years to go from 513 to this 514. I got some work to do, man. Which gets me to one of my first tips. Pick an attainable route. You want to climb just outside of your comfort zone, but it still needs to be attainable. I say just because if you find a route that's too far outside of your comfort zone, it'll feel impossible and you'll be left discouraged. Feeling a little bummed. I kind of knew. I didn't feel it in me. When you're first starting a project, you might choose a climb that you can send in 2 or 3 sessions. That's great. Once you've mastered that, see what's attainable in 5 to 10 sessions. Now, how do you figure that out? It's going to take some trial and error for each person, but a good rule of thumb is that if you can do all the moves, your first or even second session, it's a good sign that you can do it in 5 to 10 sessions. Finally, when you're ready to go for it, find a route that you think you can send in 15 or more sessions. Usually these are climbs you have to work on a few sessions to get all the moves on. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. Which is why my second tip is really important. Pick a route that you love and one that you believe you can send. If you aren't having fun, it isn't worth it. There's really nothing worse than being stuck on a route that you don't want to be on. If the route is not a hell yes, don't pick it. Or at least don't pick it for your ultra project. It's okay for those small ones. You're talking about a climb that you're going to spend a substantial amount of time on. So much like a person you're going to hang out with, don't choose a route that you don't want to spend time with. I loved the moves of this route. They were hard, and you can see that I could barely do the movements, but I was stoked each time I got on it. This is a good sign for success. The first time I got on this route, I had to hang at almost every single bolt. I couldn't finish the route. In fact, I wasn't able to finish the route until my 3rd or 4th session. But there was something inside of me, that sense of belief that I could. Trust that intuition, that gut feeling. No amount of analysis. This move is 50% probable when I have 20-degree humidity and 60-degree weather is gonna give you the answer. But if you feel like, I can get this, trust it. The inner knowing or belief is often the mental hurdle that you need to push yourself on the route. Number 3, work out all the moves before you start sending. It might sound obvious, but I've definitely tried to send a project too soon. Really work out all the beta and see how possible it is to do each of the moves in the sequence. Really experiment on what works on a project. You're engraving new movement patterns into your body. Here, I have an example of using an undercling crimp before I reach for the sloper. I did this move with this crimp and without it. And I found that I was able to conserve a lot more energy grabbing the crimp first. You might even find different beta along the way or go back to old beta that's more efficient. All this is to refine your efficiency so you can complete the route. Celebrate each high point. Each time you do a route, you can take note where your high point was. This is the highest point you have gotten from the ground. If you're pushing your high point even one move, you're making progress. It's so important to keep enthusiasm when you're projecting and when you're not. I've totally been the guy who has been bogged down on myself because I haven't sent yet. Respect the entire journey. Celebrating whenever you have a high point is a way to do that. When you're projecting, you're gonna hang more than you're gonna send. Keep an attitude of gratitude to yourself and the climb, which is super important. Honestly, I wish I learned this earlier in my climbing career. This includes not beating yourself up if you didn't make progress too. Sometimes you need to take a step back to push 2 steps forward. That's okay. Now, once you've taxed working on your high point, you can try low point climbing. Low point climbing is very underrated. In fact, I didn't use this technique until this climb, even though I've known about it for years. Your low point is the lowest hang you've taken to complete the route. Low point climbing can be useful on crux moves that are higher up. In this case, my crux move was right before I hit the lip of the route, about 3/4 up the route. So using a low point technique allowed me to feel what it felt like to be tired through the crux and not just hang right before the crux. We often rest right before the hard part of our project in a sport route. If you're doing the hardest move after you've rested, you're not gonna be able to repeat this rest when you're trying to send the route. So pushing the rest lower allows you to work out the moves with flow. Maybe you can't do the crux move from the ground, but if you're 5 clips up, you can do that move. I did my low point for this project at the 5th clip, 4th clip, and then the 3rd clip. Once I low pointed the entire climb from the 3rd clip, I knew I needed to go for the send of the route. The same concept can be used for bouldering as well. Just you don't have clips and it's obviously shorter. Give your breath some love. Once you're on the wall, sending, or even practicing a send, don't forget to breathe. I'm often doing more loud, obnoxious breathing patterns when I send. This is because the audio feedback allows me to remember my breath. You want oxygen to get to your muscles so that you don't build lactic acid too quickly. This is done by giving your body more oxygen. I've also experimented with the Wim Hof breathing method, taking 30 to 40 big hyperventilating breaths before my climb to oxygenate my body. I don't recommend this unless you're already familiar with this breathing technique, because it might make you lightheaded while you're climbing. Either way, taking deep breaths is a great way to get your mind in a relaxed state before you climb. This is especially important when you're trying to send. Along with breath work, your rests are also a huge influence on your climbing as well. Find micro rests or big rests. When I was a boulderer learning to sport climb, my friends would make fun of me. Yo, dude, you gotta stop bouldering. Start climbing, dude. What he meant was that I wasn't taking advantage of the rests and being efficient with my climbing. Taking extra shakeouts whenever you see them, even if they're quick ones, and even if you don't think you need them, can make all the difference. I worked out a total of 8 or 9 shakes in this climb, and there was a bomber rest at the lip that I was able to rest on in 2 positions. The ability to recover when you're on a route is huge. I've noticed a huge difference doing the G-Tox recovery shake, which is when you shake both above and below you at the rest position. According to this study, it said that you have an 18% better recovery. Study or not, it has worked for me, and I encourage you to see what works for you. Another thing that works is off-the-wall training. I can say from my own experience that my hangboard routine had something to do with my endurance. I'm currently only able to climb 2 times a week, but I'm able to do 4 or even 5 10 to 20 minute hangboard total body workout sessions a week. I truly believe that these sessions are what's keeping me strong and allowing me to progress. I know this because from my own personal experience, I've also only climbed 2 days a week and I wasn't making any project gains. I think it's important to have a good program, but for most of us, the most important thing is actually consistency. If you're doing an off-the-wall program, but you aren't consistent, it's not gonna be beneficial. That's why I personally like at-home programs, because they're short and sweet, and it's a little bit more flexible. So I can do an extra workout when I have a small time window. That really helps as a new dad. Also, if I'm not feeling great, I can skip it, which brings me to my next point. make sure you have enough energy. Right before I sent this route, someone offered me a clementine. I'm currently doing a ketogenic diet, and one of the things I found on keto is that even with a small amount of carbohydrate, I can get a lot of energy. Now, each person is a unique snowflake, and whatever each of us need nutritionally is different. So making sure you have enough food or fuel from your food is important. Sugar is digested much faster than protein or fats in your body. And my body was clearly craving sugar because my next attempt, I didn't even hesitate at the crux. I just had enough energy. How much energy is not just about how much sugar is in your body. How much restful sleep you're getting also plays a huge role. I certainly noticed the difference from bad night's rest and a good night's rest on the wall. And active recovery also plays a huge role, but I'll dive deep on that in another video. My point is, you need to make sure that you have juice to send the route. Make multiple attempts each session. If you're projecting a sport route, chances are you're gonna be tired after one burn. Whew. That 14A is something else. I know I am when I'm first starting to project a specific climb. But as you get better, try and take 2 or even 3 burns. We often think that the first attempt is the best attempt because you're fresh, but I've often sent my project on the 2nd or 3rd attempt. This particular route was sent on the 2nd burn. My theory is that I'm refamiliarizing myself with the route on the 1st burn, and then I'm less in my head on the 2nd or 3rd attempt because I'm just having fun. I've personally found it helpful to do at least 2 and up to 3 send attempts per session. But once I've gotten 4, I felt in danger of hurting myself. So my suggestion is to gauge yourself and your own ability to feel how your body is feeling. Maybe 4 burns is great for you. I don't push myself too hard on the 3rd attempt because my body is already tired and I don't want to risk injuring myself. It's just not worth it. Listen to your body. Also, if you're stuck in a rut, you can always get back to doing a low hang. Sometimes doing the crux move all in one fell swoop is enough to imprint you the memory to send the route. I like to do this section I'm having difficulty with 3 times in order to ingrain it into my mind in my movement pattern. This ensures that you're not just in your conscious mind thinking about the moves, but you're in your hindbrain making the moves. If you don't have to think about the moves, it's gonna feel a lot more fluid. I personally felt like in my own mental state, I like to be as empty in my brain as possible and just feel the movements instead of think about left arm to crimp, rotate the right foot to grab the crimp, then grab the right hand crimp and then heel hook. That can help a lot when you're working out the moves, but when you're going for a send attempt on a project, you wanna be in your body and your mind has already done the moves enough times for you to flow through them. Finally, don't forget, record your progress. I keep a journal with all of my climbs and activity in it. I track my progress each time I go to the gym. Now, this might sound tedious at first, but it can give you an idea of what progress you've made. Remember, celebrate your wins. That's super important. If you're able to see that you went from 3 hangs to 2 hangs or 1 hang after 2 hangs, you've made a new high point, it's gonna give you a good second point of positive feedback. I have a free PDF climbing tracker and success guide in my climbing starter kit. Along with writing down your progress, I also suggest videoing yourself as a great way to re-watch your beta. Being able to reflect on each move is an invaluable piece of data. It might feel weird at first, but pop your iPhone out and capture your fails, flails, and sends. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if any of this info was helpful to you. I know it's easy to just watch the next video, but I'm trying to build this channel and I'd really appreciate your input. I'll see you guys on the next one.